Here we go.
There we go.
We're off.
Lights up.
Half an hour of racing underway.
Can't stop addicted to the shindig. Chop promises I'm gonna win big. Choose not to like no imitation. Just get close into the reservation. The pistol that you pay for. This part the feeling that you stay for. In time I want to be your best friend. Eastside love is living on the west end. Knocked out before you better come to. Don't die, you know the truth is some do. Go ask the dust for any answers. Come back strong with 50 million answers. The world I love, the tears I've dropped to be part of the wave can't stop. Ever wonder if it's all for you?
Here we go.
There we go.
We're off.
Lights up.
Half an hour of racing underway.
Can't stop addicted to the shindig. Chop promises I'm gonna win big. Choose not to like no imitation. Just get close into the reservation. The pistol that you pay for. This part the feeling that you stay for. In time I want to be your best friend. Eastside love is living on the west end. Knocked out before you better come to. Don't die, you know the truth is some do. Go ask the dust for any answers. Come back strong with 50 million answers. The world I love, the tears I've dropped to be part of the wave can't stop. Ever wonder if it's all for you?
Here we go.
There we go.
We're off.
Lights up.
Half an hour of racing underway.
Can't stop addicted to the shindig. Chop promises I'm gonna win big. Choose not to like no imitation. Just get close into the reservation. The pistol that you pay for. This part the feeling that you stay for. In time I want to be your best friend. Eastside love is living on the west end. Knocked out before you better come to. Don't die, you know the truth is some do. Go ask the dust for any answers. Come back strong with 50 million answers. The world I love, the tears I've dropped to be part of the wave can't stop. Ever wonder if it's all for you?
Here we go.
There we go.
We're off.
Lights up.
Half an hour of racing underway.
Can't stop addicted to the shindig. Chop promises I'm gonna win big. Choose not to like no imitation. Just get close into the reservation. The pistol that you pay for. This part the feeling that you stay for. In time I want to be your best friend. Eastside love is living on the west end. Knocked out before you better come to. Don't die, you know the truth is some do. Go ask the dust for any answers. Come back strong with 50 million answers. The world I love, the tears I've dropped to be part of the wave can't stop. Ever wonder if it's all for you?
Welcome everyone to Random Rush at Nordschleife.
Sorry for the slight delay, had a little issue with some of the liveries, but we are back up and running with 18 minutes left of quali. Obviously random rush, the whole objective, or I say objective, but the whole point is the weather will literally be so random, it makes it unpredictable. As you can see in the top right hand corner, it is going to be dry in 3 minutes and then back to raining in 10. So these drivers going to set some laps in a very interesting Nordschleife racetrack, obviously one of the hardest, if not the hardest track in the world to master. So these drivers trying to do just that in this remaining 18 minutes of quali, followed by a 45-minute race. I am joined by Harry today.
Good evening, everyone.
Will be racing. You'll have to keep an eye on him as he goes. Currently, Usby is the lead car for qualifying, and he will be joining the Nordschleife racetrack. Just done his lap for the GP, and we'll be looking to do go on to the Nord in the wet. Of course, obviously it is going to get drier as he goes around the track, but have to see how that works out for him. I'm not particularly sure. Okay, he's going on. I don't know if he was going to start doing loops and wait for the dry track, but he is on to the racetrack now. You can actually see many other drivers currently on the track at the moment. A large cluster of them still on the GP circuit. But Usby, obviously known so far, one of the fastest drivers in ACM, and very fast at Nordschleife. We had a few races in the wet here at the Nordschleife, but not many to really gauge a good idea of pace. So it'll be interesting to see how some of the drivers cope in these conditions. I believe now just seeing it's very tidy from Usby at the moment. I mean, trying to maybe play it a little bit safe in terms of a lap time. And it's actually the first time me experiencing the Nordschleife cameras, because I've never seen them. So actually decent selection of cameras we've got from Kinos. Makes a change. But yes, Usby currently on the first straight of many. So interesting to see how he takes his corner. He takes it nice. He does tap the brakes, so not a heavy brake, but not a lift like it is, or even full throttle like it is normally. So it's still quite a bit wet. The track says it's dry, but I don't think it is, unless it's I presume it stopped raining, but still a lot of spray being kicked up from the puddles on the track, as you can see from the back of Usby's car. He's really close to the track limits there. Any bit more of that would have spun him right around, as he starts to head now through the end of the first section. So I have to see how he's doing. I think our lead driver is actually the Lamborghini of Matteo. He is the furthest on the course at the moment in the Lamborghini. Very bright and colourful livery on display, which will make him stand out on a very damp racetrack. So he starts heading now through the final section. It's one of the trickiest sections in the dry, and most certainly now the trickiest section in the wet, especially in a Lamborghini that constantly wants to snap on you. I'd imagine it'd be quite difficult, but I think he's actually managing all right. We'll go on the interior cam, just see how much he's fiddling with that wheel. You can see a few snaps from the wheel already, but he seems to be relatively in control of the Lamborghini, which is good to see. You can see a big snap there from the Lamborghini driver, potentially fighting it through some of these curbs. You see these curbs will be a lot more deadly than they are in the dry, because one small wrong footing, and it's going to send that car around very, very quickly. But still, seems to be a very tidy lap actually, not too bad at all. And now this is the scariest bit, as he starts to head through the flat out in the dry. But I know in a car like the McLaren, it is not the best to take these jumps, these flat out corners. It really doesn't not like to do it, but the Lamborghini just seems to be doing it just fine. You see again, you can see him actually busting him out on that curb, So maybe running a little bit low to the ground, this Lamborghini. Interested to see how that work out for him. So, let's see, temperatures today, pretty cool in terms of racetrack. It's all over the grass as a Lamborghini. I think that's still a valid lap, it is. So, heads down on the back straight, and probably one of the calmest points of this racetrack for any driver. It's just taking a nice relax on the back straight. You can see the dry line, and compared to the wet line, that was a great bit of imagery, and you can actually see Matteo's actually on the wet line, presumably because he's on wet tyres. So have to see if some of the drivers are on dry tyres or not. But yeah, you really see on that back straight the dry line. So I'm interested to see what the lap time is, as he will be the first to cross the line and set a lap. We'll see what the pace is looking like. With 12 minutes to go now in qualifying, about to cross the line. It's going to be an 8:57.3. That's a very respectable time in the wet conditions. And I believe our next car is actually the number 14. It is. It's Giannis in the BM. Very nice livery. Looking very, again, quite a lot of bright colours on some of these liveries. Obviously, blue and black for this BMW, but still a fair amount of nice colours to see. It's always good to see some colour on the grid. But yes, you can see these drivers really trying to push the limits. You can see BMW getting all over the curbs at the second carousel. But onto the back straight now for the BMW. So far, very tight lap. We'll head back with Usby. As we know, he will be looking for a good time. Still managed to keep on track for Usby. So it's been a good lap, I would imagine, as he starts to find his way through the last sector now. He's actually got a Porsche ahead of him. I don't know if that will be traffic for him. I believe that Porsche is on a valid lap, so it won't be traffic necessarily. Or is that an Audi? I don't know, it could be. It is an Audi. It is Will Gossel. I am misreading the cars today. There you are. You can see Usby is catching, but I don't think it'll be a massive amount by the time the straight comes. So no big deal for Usby. You see the Audi really struggling to put the power down in the final corner, especially compared to that Ferrari. I'm presuming that Ferrari will get such a good top line speed that it will be pretty easy pass for Usby. Well, I say easy, but it might even be a catch. But you can see these guys are using the dry line, so these guys will most probably want to be on the dry tyres. So we'll have to see how all these different strategies work out in quali. Start to head towards the 10-minute mark now. And you can actually see, I believe, yes, that is the BMW. The number 14 has gone for provisional pole at the moment. It is 8:53, so that's 3.5 seconds quicker than our last lap time that we saw it. Again, these guys are really pushing the limits and trying to find where is the optimum line, especially in these conditions where it's half wet, half dry. But you can see a lot of this GP circuit is relatively dry, with a few wet patches. There's no spray really being kicked up at all. See Nani, 8:48.2, really extremely fast for him, and used to be 1.2 seconds slower. I don't know if he maybe got caught up with Will in that final sector, but still very fast lap times. That puts them 1 and 2. And I believe the next person to cross the line will be the 727. And that will be Tan in the Aston Martin. And they will set a lap time. I think they're going to validate the lap, sorry, into that final. So it will be Kelly will be the next one to cross the line. It is a 9:04 for Kelly. Maybe not the best lap for him, as we know he has got some serious pace around this track. So we're looking to find some of that in the final 9 minutes of qualifying that we have. As well, I think we see there's actually quite a few train of drivers actually in this GP section. You see the GP section is now raining, so the conditions are rapidly changing, as it was literally just dry literally a few minutes ago. So you can really see where this random rush name is from. The weather is so unpredictable, and it's going to make it really challenging for these drivers to pick what tyre set to be on, and to be on the right strategy throughout the entire 45-minute race. So it'll be interesting to see what they go for. So we'll go a bit more in depth come the formation lap. for these guys, but Nani actually looking for a pass on Newsby in the GP section. It's not something you'd really see often enough in quali, but a little bit slidey actually for Nani. I think both drivers, I think actually no, Nani's on the Nord, so Nani was actually going for a lap and Newsby wasn't. I believe, yeah, Newsby's gone round to take the Joker lap to start another lap with 8 minutes to go. So this will be Newsby's last lap. So Nani on that lap, so that will also be Nani's last lap. So different ways of doing things, but obviously you'd be looking for a reset as he goes on. But it's already invalidated for Usby, so he'll have to go around the Joker lap one more time. So I have to see if he can find time. But someone that is finding time at the moment is Nani. He's 2.6 seconds up on the lap time. And remember, he's already 1 second clear actually by Nijnigen. Actually, he's managed to put himself up into P2, a second off Nani at the moment. It's a very nice time from the Ferrari driver. So yeah, I mean, but still, Nani, 2.2 seconds up on the delta. If he keeps this nice, well, for the rest of the lap he finds the time, it could be an 8:45 at the moment. So I have to see. I think I'll catch back in with him a bit later. But again, you can see how much he really is pushing. We've got on the passenger cam just to really show what the drivers are experiencing. You can see it is a little bit damp out here. They're not extremely wet in this part of the section. But I think we saw GP earlier, it was extremely wet, just from dry as well. So yeah, I mean, the conditions rapidly changing, and that's what all this race is all about. It makes it extremely interesting and fun, and yeah, I mean, makes it different for everyone and how they think. But you can see a large collection of these drivers are going out on their out laps at the moment. Tamara actually sets an 8:45.9. 2.2 seconds clear of Nani at the moment. Very nice lap time from the McLaren driver. But like we saw, Nani, oh never mind, we didn't see, because Nani is off the track, unfortunately. He was on for a time that would beat Tamara, now invalidates that lap by going into the grass, so he will have a last minute chance to go round once more.
Rain is a lot heavier now.
The rain is a lot heavier. It does look so. So different parts of the track, also constantly changing, but it does look heavier. So these guys maybe not improving overly by much. Usby currently on an invalidated lap, currently 1 second up. I would imagine, I don't know why. Maybe he's just going to finish the lap, but if I was him, invalidated lap, I would probably return to the garage and try again. Obviously these drivers doing things a little bit different, but it is Matteo, obviously our first driver to set a lap time today, currently 7 seconds up on the lap time, and looking to push his way into the top 5. So it looks a very clean lap, very close to the limits there for the Lamborghini driver. And that Lamborghini looks so stable, relatively from his first lap, so obviously found some pace, or maybe a few changes in the setup. So yeah, I mean, it's incredible to see. But just quickly, thank you Speedy John 1, Maniola and Sibes for the follow. Thank you very much. So I'll try to keep myself updated on that as we go through. But yes, obviously, actually Matteo actually losing a little bit of time in that tricky section as he now makes his way onto the back straight. 4.5 seconds is the delta. He's actually going to lose time down this straight, so I wonder what the delta will be by the time he gets down to the final corner. We'll have to find out, but yeah, I mean, very good lap. But Harry, how difficult are these conditions?
Well, I started the lap when there was a dry line, and when the tyres sort of had a lot of grip, and then now it's just sort of I'm on an ice rink, going around a track that's not suited for having no grip. Yeah, I did take the risk with trying a dry tyre earlier on in the qualifying session, and I've got to say it was not a good idea at all. I mean, there was a dry line, but it wasn't dry. Like, it was just sort of dry compared to what was basically flooded.
Yeah, dry tyre was definitely a risk, and obviously, like I was saying, it is looking like a nice drink out there. As Altosis does say, it is too wet to set a lap, so we'll have to see. Obviously, these drivers, obviously, a lot of them pitting at the moment, but some of them still on laps, and the ones that are on laps are currently down on the Delta. So yeah, obviously Harry's got to set a lap, but yeah, I mean, we'll stay on board with Harry because he is the last one at the moment on track. So.
It's not going to be a competitive lap, I can tell you that now. I'm sort of so hesitant on the throttle and stuff. But thankfully I'm near the end, so as long as I don't invalidate, fingers crossed.
Don't say that, because you've just ruined the lap time now. It's all going downhill from this point. But yes, obviously, thank you Altosis for that. I'll just make a quick change. But yeah, obviously, it's going to be difficult for these drivers. Obviously, in the race it's 45 minutes, so obviously they've had 25 minutes of quali, but 45 minutes and the fact that they can be racing side by side, it's definitely going to be an interesting race for sure. With lots of drivers, I would imagine, making many mistakes. I mean, I certainly would, because I mean, personally, me and Wet don't go along too well, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those tracks where, you know, mistakes are hugely costly, as you can probably imagine. So Harry's kept it relatively clean for that last sector. So we'll be looking for a decent lap time. Where are you aiming for today, Harry? Top 10? Top 5?
Ideally, but I think obviously with the rainfall being a lot harsher than what it was for maybe some other drivers, I think I'm sort of going to be pushed back into maybe 15 to, well, top 10 is the only ones that have set a lap at the moment, but overall I think top 15 is a good target.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously some of these drivers, obviously different targets for them. Obviously with career mode, I'll go in a little bit more depth into that a bit later. But yeah, obviously everyone with different targets and how they want to plan out their race definitely adds a little extra layer of interestingness. As we have 1:40 left of qualifying, Harry does set a lap time for P11. It is a 9:12, 6 seconds off the next car. Like I said, he was struggling, and like Altosa said in the Twitch chat, it was getting too wet to really set a competitive lap. So yeah, I mean, it's still a very nice time, and a time you've actually set on the board, because a lot of these drivers actually haven't set a lap time. Maybe how difficult these conditions are, we'll have to find out, but that's actually, I believe it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cars that haven't set a lap time. So yeah, we'll have to see how they get on. But most of the drivers currently just doing laps of the GP circuit. I'm not particularly sure if they're trying to set up for a lap for the final 45 minutes, but we'll have to see. But I believe that's Amir, who's currently, he was up on the Delta, but he's not anymore. He was an invalidated lap, but still looking for a lap, I would imagine. Yeah, I mean, obviously these drivers will be looking to get a good result indeed. It is one of the, obviously, like I said, if not the trickiest track that ACC has to offer. And in these conditions it makes it 10 times worse. So these drivers are going to have to really find their pace and navigate their way through. So we'll have to see how they get on. The track is flooded at the end there, so that may be a sign for what's to come. The next 45 minutes, I don't know. But you can see everyone's a bit slidey. But yeah, I mean, definitely. But our pole sitter then, Tamara, by 2.2 seconds in the McLaren, just having a bit of fun, a bit drifting, as he will lead us away. Followed by Nani. Nani can used to be Aptosis, and then the others. We'll quickly go back to the trailer just for a short break, and then I will get us away.
off skip.
Lights out.
Half an hour of racing underway.
Can't stop addicted to the shindig. Chop top, it says I'm gonna win big. Choose not to like no imitation. Distant us into the reservation. The pistol that you pay for. This part the feeling that you stay for. In time I want to be your best friend. Eastside love is living on the west end. Knocked out before you better come to. Don't die, you know the truth is some do. Go ask the dust for any answers. Come back strong with 50 million answers. The world I love, the tears I drop to be part of the wave. Can't stop. Ever wonder if it's all for you?
Here we go.
There we go.
We're off
Lights
skip.
out.
Half an hour of racing underway.
Can't stop addicted to the shindig. Chop top, it says I'm gonna win big. Choose not to like no imitation. Distant us into the reservation. The pistol that you pay for. This part the feeling that you stay for. In time I want to be your best friend. Eastside love is living on the west end. Knocked out before you better come to. Don't die, you know the truth is some do. Go ask the dust for any answers. Come back strong with 50 million answers. The world I love, the tears I drop to be part of the wave. Can't stop. Ever wonder if it's all for you?
Welcome back, everyone. We are just literally seconds away, really, from getting underway. I will check what tyres these guys are on when we get starting the race, but obviously better watch out for any turn 1 incidents. It is green now. Tamara gets a brilliant start, and Nanikin actually already up the inside of Nani, and that's Usby as well, also looking for the same move. It's a very clean start from Tamara then, as we head now into turn 1. You can see Nani making a very big dive bomb, very late on the brakes. That has cost him multiple positions as he has to go off the track and cuts the gravel and has to rejoin onto the track. I'm not particularly sure what was going on there, but we carry on. It's usually only just behind Tamara into turn 1. Nani getting away in P3, but I believe he made contact. I believe that was Niniken. Yeah, you can see he's in the midfield and he gets tagged again, and that's him across the grass. But we'll have to go back up to the top. Some of these guys, positions are changing. I can't actually click on the top. But there you go, Usby and Tamara leading the way then, miles ahead of everybody else at the moment. Yeah, I mean, what chaotic start. I mean, everyone's still very close together, but I'm saying the wet conditions are changing everything. You see Harry actually trying to defend a move from the Ferrari behind. I believe, yes, so that is Sergio in the Ferrari. Very nice defending from Harry. But yeah, you can see how close Usby is to the back of Tamara. Trying to put the pressure on. And like I said, it's only lap 1 out of a 45-minute race. But you can see in the top right of your screen, the track is currently wet and it's meant to get lighter in the next 10 minutes or so. So we'll have to see how that goes out. Thank you, Sparrow, for the follow. We'll have to check this out a bit in more detail. See Matteo as well, following behind, close behind Nani. You see, actually, I think that's Altosis on the outside, all over the gravel, making a move on Will Gossel. You can see him up the inside for the last bit of the GP, and Altosis making a very nice move. I think Altosis actually got a little bit damaged on the front bumper. I could be mistaken, that could be my eyes. No, you can see all the scratches on that carbon bodied BMW. So yeah, he will have damage for the rest of this race. That is quite unfortunate. But again, you can see the weather indicator has updated once again. and actually it's going to be dry in 10 minutes, and this is what we were talking about. It's going to be really challenging for these drivers, because if these drivers put on wet tyres to start, then they're going to suffer the most. But if you put on dries, then you could be good to go, but you could be miles behind by the time this dry weather comes around. So we'll have to see what these drivers and how they plan their strategies out. I'd imagine most of these guys would be on the wet tyre, as obviously you're starting in the wet conditions. You can see Harry is on the wet tyre, I believe. So we'll have to see how each driver. You see the Porsche in the behind him now, all over and sliding. That was a very nice save from the Porsche driver. You can actually see Matteo is actually all over the back of Nani. Currently 3/10 between these guys and closing. Obviously Matteo very quick, and so was Nani. So you can see the pace definitely start to settle in. You can see the Aston a lot quicker through the corner than the Lamborghini was, but that is the Aston behind. That's Amir, who's, I believe, tried to take the dry line. You can see the Nissan also done the same. These drivers are not expecting the amount of wet condition that corner has to offer, and that's actually, you can see how much damage that's got him. That's going to cost him so much. I'd imagine if the marshals weren't waving the meatball flag for this one, you can see how close Will is getting as well. You can see Amir has lost complete control of the Aston Martin. There's a big crash coming down the hill. You can see Mark spinning across the track. As a little contact, you see how quickly these guys are flying through. Now that was close, definitely for sure. You can see these drivers, how close they're following. I would imagine you literally couldn't see anything. We'll go on board with Harry. You can see on the back of Kelly's car, it is almost impossible to see. And if these guys don't have their rain light on, then I would imagine there'd be contact for sure into some of these corners. But you can see actually Artosis really close behind the Nissan. The Nissan makes a mistake, and that allows Artosis up into P6 with the damage. He's actually doing very nicely at the moment to work his way up. Sparrow says, go Figgins. I would also say the same. Obviously that Nissan's going to be extremely hard to drive in these conditions. I would imagine it's already hard to drive enough in the dry, but the Nissan, have to see how it gets on. It doesn't look the stable as it usually does, so maybe the wet conditions are not suited at the moment. But that's Hanak actually getting overtaken by the 24 McLaren. Maybe a mistake for Hanak. I believe Hanak has got so much damage on the front of that car. You can see the bonnet is popped up. Yeah, he'll be quite slow, I'd imagine, for some of these corners. You see the Porsche just behind Harry actually. I think, yeah, that's Ben Gilroy. I wasn't expecting to be in the Porsche, but it is Ben Gilroy. Looking for a move on Harry. But at the top then, it's still Tamara and it's still USP following. So these two very quick indeed, and we'll be looking to extend their gap. Currently have a 2-second gap over the third placed Nani, and then it's Matteo, and then a big gap actually to Artosis in about 6.5 seconds. So that's where maybe some of this lap 1 drama has caused bigger gaps than I would expect. But Ben Gilroy has overtaken Harry, maybe a mistake from Harry. You can see the gap has expanded, but Ben Gilroy looking for a move on Kelly in the most unexpected place possible. Great camera angle, Kurnos, thank you very much. But you can see Kelly all over the back of Hanak with the damage, and Ben Gilroy just behind. So these guys will be looking to make a pass on that McLaren very, very quickly. So we'll have to see what Kelly and Gilroy do if they can try to work together to get past. Gilroy looking like he wants to make a move on Kelly into carousel potentially. Doesn't go for it in the end and tucks in nicely. You can see, look at the damage on that McLaren. I don't know how Hanak must be crying because yeah, that looks really bad. But you can see Kelly a lot slower exit and has allowed Ben Gilroy to get through. There is an Audi parked up in my camera view. Obviously Will, I think it's Will, yeah it is Will. He's obviously just showing off for the camera, right in front of the camera. You have to get out the way for these guys behind him, and that is a problem at the Nordschleife. If you make a mistake and there's plenty of cars behind, most of the time you're going to have to wait. That does set him back to P16 unfortunately, but obviously he's seen some great pace in the Audi so far this season, so I wouldn't imagine he I would imagine he would try and work his way back up the grid. Ben Gilroy looking for a move on that damaged McLaren. You can see McLaren actually getting all over the grass in that final corner. But giving a race, putting the pressure on Hanak now. And we're looking for a move. Obviously that Porsche will be much quicker through the corners than the McLaren due to the damage. And I'd actually like to see how Hanak will plan to take the jump, because I would imagine he's going to have to brake it completely right in front of Ben Gilroy, because that damage will just send him flying. You can see she does very well to keep that McLaren on the track, but you can see Ben Gilroy actually pushing him through the corner. And I would imagine Ben Gilroy will now pull out of the slipstream and look for a move very shortly.
Tell you what,
Yes.
it's certainly crazy out here. When it started the lap, it was no rain coming down. Couldn't see anything in front of you because of the spray, and then midway through the lap the rain started coming down, so you were even more slippery, and now the rain's starting to cool down a little bit, so this is this is mental.
Yeah, definitely. Like Harry said, it does say it indicates dry. Well, I say dry, but clouds in 3 minutes, so the rain will potentially stop again and then restart again in 10 minutes. And these are the tricky conditions that these drivers will be under for the entirety of this race, and it all makes it all good fun. A great game of strategy for sure. But in other news, USB and Tamara have dropped off quite a bit, because Nani caught up like 2 seconds he had, and he's actually half a second behind USB. So maybe, I don't know if these guys have got a little bit side by side that I didn't see. But in other news, I think yeah, Hanak is now losing all the positions down the straight. I don't know if he's lifting or he's just not got the straight line speed anymore.
And that's the damage that he's got. He's
Yeah.
really slowed down that straight.
You can obviously, with such a long straight at Nordschleife, you can see. I mean, he lost 3 positions. He might even lose 4 with I think that's Maxime Cochier just behind him. So might even lose even more. He seems to hold on at the back of this straight. But yeah, I mean, that's what damage costs you. And I'll be interested to know if he goes into the pits or not. I mean, that damage, yeah, he does. I mean, that damage must be too unsustainable really to continue for this portion of the race. Maybe slapping on another set of wets or dries. We'll have to find out what he does a bit later. But Nani on the back of USB. These guys very, very close now, as USB actually does hold the fastest lap of this session by literally half a tenth, so maybe not that impressive as it seems after all, but nonetheless still a very fast time start of the race. But yeah, I mean, these guys constantly will be fighting, and hopefully to the very end. I see a lot of drivers actually in the pit lane already, maybe for damage or tyre changes. We'll have to find out, but yeah, I mean, these conditions are, I mean, you can't see it as much as well, I'd imagine, from a spectating POV as you can on the driver cam, but it does look pretty wet at the moment, and maybe this dry needs to come out a little bit more, but it's all in the fun. I mean, a wet Nordschleife race is plenty enough. I mean, these drivers will be looking to struggle with that anyway. So yeah, we'll have to find out. But you can actually see Matteo has actually caught up as well. So I don't know if Tamara has dropped off the pace so much that these guys are able to catch up. Who knows? We have to get a 5-second time penalty for car 28. And a couple of drive-through penalties getting applied as well. I believe that's a drive-through penalty and a stop-go for speeding in the pit lane for number 14. Yes, you can see these drivers obviously live shooting today. That's why the penalties will be applied in the bottom right of your screen. And obviously we'll have to see how they affect the end of the race come the end of the race. But more importantly though, Nani has received a drive-through penalty. I believe that would be for the turn 1 incident. So let's see how he plans to strategize that, because obviously if it gets dry he wants to pit, but if he pits he has to serve the drive-through. I have to make a decision, but all over the grass does Nani. In there, and that's going to allow Matteo just behind him. Actually, I think Matteo actually might even get a good run out of this corner, but actually you can see here in the engine he actually lifts. Doesn't want to get too close to the back of that Aston, come into these corners, which is very sensible indeed. But actually, I say Tamara has dropped off, but Tamara has actually found 1.7 seconds ahead of Usby. Maybe a mistake from Usby, or Usby also dropping off the pace. We'll have to see when they next come round to finish their lap times. But yeah, I mean, it must be tricky. I mean, I believe, actually, just from a passenger cam, it does look a little bit drier. It looks like the rain has settled just for a little bit. It says it's going to come back in 10 minutes' time. How true that is, we don't know, because it likes to change all the time, of course. Mostly a rough lap round here in these conditions at the moment will be around 9 minutes, so that 10 minutes will basically just give us a lap of no rain as these drivers go round. I'm sure they won't mind it at all though. But yeah, I mean, next car actually is Jemiel, who's really close to the back of Harry. Jemiel actually skipping a large amount of that curb. To be fair, I have no idea how that Porsche managed to take that curve like that and not even a single sign of slip. Really impressive from Jemiel to have to do that as he starts to chase down Harry for a P11 at the moment. You can see other drivers like Mark and Sergio Rigo currently in the pit lane for repairs. Obviously quite a very, very, very long pit stop time for some of these drivers if the damage is a lot. As you can see, Mark now leaving the pit lane, and that's Nijmegen in the background, obviously getting collected on lap 1, but it's good to see him continue running, as he will now have to pass Mark for P17, as these guys will actually battle it out, I believe, for a good position. So these guys are a little bit further behind, but nonetheless, great racing. And as you see, Harry on the back of Maxime Cochiera now, who has got a 15-second time penalty. So it'd be interesting to see how these drivers want to approach the battling. I mean, Harry, what are you thinking? You wanna attack him for this, or are you pressuring him for a mistake?
I think I might actually just take a seat back on this one, to be honest. I've already made one mistake and got myself 7 seconds of damage, and half an hour left of the race. I think the plan is just to take it steady, because I know the drivers in front of me are going to end up making a mistake as well at some point. It's inevitable, really. So just taking a relaxed attitude towards it is probably the way to go.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, lots of drivers have different approaches in the way they race. Obviously, Harry choosing the sensible option, because obviously, like we said, a lot of damage will make you go to the pit lane, and pit lane trip, as you've seen by Mark, is quite costly. You can actually see Mark is currently 4 minutes behind the lead, so that is quite costly indeed. But in other news then, still these guys very close to the back of USV, as they will look to try and put the pressure on, still relatively spaced out from each other, allowing each other just enough room and space to, I presume, see at least, but you can see Nani getting all over and actually going to put him wide into the corner to actually allow Matteo just behind him into this sector. Matteo is actually looking for a move. That was very close. I'm not sure how contact wasn't made, but Matteo had to go on the grass. But that's what a mistake can cost you. It can cost you a few seconds, tenths, seconds, places even. So these drivers have to be very careful how they approach the racetrack indeed. Jemiel still close to the back of Harry, as Harry wants to try and catch back up to Cochiera. Ben Gori also looking to make moves, as he now has caught the Nissan in P7. As you can see, weaving basically, making himself as big as possible in the mirrors and try and put that pressure on. You can see the rain has started again, so that try did not last for long. So these drivers will be looking hopefully maybe more dry conditions. I think most of these guys are on wets indeed. Yeah, I mean, I think that is the best tyre to be on at the moment. You can see Bengore up the inside, around the corner and up the hill, and that's a very lovely move and tidy from Bengore, as he now wants to try and catch the number 24 McLaren, who's 6.5 seconds ahead of him. So yeah, we'll have to see how he gets on.
Cochiera's gone in front of me.
Yes, indeed. Cochiera has spun, and the contact is made there in one of the most awkward places on this track. Super unfortunate to see, but obviously a small mistake can can really affect anything really. But in other news, Matteo is literally pulling alongside Nani as they actually head down the straight neck and neck. It's going to be who's more confident on the brakes in the wet conditions in the last corner. Currently the Aston is pulling a little bit more, obviously more straight line speed adaptable than Aston Martin. As these drivers will now look to pass each other. I imagine Matteo will be looking for a better exit onto the main straight to the Aston driver. But you can see just from his camera angle the visibility is so poor. It's literally so close to Matteo. I didn't expect him to stop, I won't lie. But very nice brake control from the Lamborghini driver, as he will now try and chase down Matteo. Matteo. You can see him chase down Nani. We'll have to see. It's currently 0.6 of a second, but you can see how much the Aston is better in a straight line. But obviously that Lamborghini does have some straight line speed. Obviously more probably suited to the corners compared to the Aston. But the Lamborghini is still in this race for sure. As have to keep an eye on that. But Gemiel currently looking for a move on Harry, very very close behind. You see Gemiel looking for a move anywhere he can find one.
Kelly's off.
He's off, says Harry, and that's Kelly. Kelly is parked in the middle of the track as he tries to get going, and he's spun on the rejoin. You can see massive lots of damage to that front end of that 296, and saw some rear damage as well. That's not what Kelly needed. We'll have to see how he did that. Oh, he's all over the grass, come down the straight, and yeah, I mean that's not great. And he actually catches the wrong part of the racetrack. He takes the dry line. Yeah, that's super unfortunate from the British driver to spin around in that fashion. You can see them on the rejoin spinning once again, and they'll have to put him down a few places. You believe he's in the pit lane now? If we can get out this replay, that would be fantastic. Yes, Kelly is in the pit lane. You can see him pulling in now. So yeah, I mean, have to see how that goes for him. But see Harry, you see the damage on that Aston as well. So damage will be a lot of drivers will be suffering with that today, I'd imagine. So yeah, I mean Harry at the moment just staying behind Gemiel. Have to see how that goes for him. Altosis actually has caught Nani. I believe Nani actually made a mistake, which allowed Matteo to get through and has allowed Altosis to catch up. But if the pace stays the same, I believe Nani should be able to pull away. But in other news, obviously Nani has got a drive for penalty still, and he will have to serve it next time round, because obviously first lap, second lap, so this will be his third lap of having the drive for penalty, so he will have to serve it this lap for sure, which will allow Altosis with or without an overtake through. So we'll have to see how that goes for him. On the news, Gemiel has got past Harry, so we'll have to see how that works out. Obviously with Peter as well in the number 12 BMW, also catching this little train. You see Harry actually looking for a move maybe on the inside, thinks about it and still thinking about it. A very clean move from these two as space is left, and Gemiel on the grass a little bit, which is going to allow Harry to get through. A little bit of contact on the rear there, nothing serious. Harry now back in to P9. So great to see.
That was an excellent move.
It was a very excellent move, and I'm glad. I wish I had a little bit, maybe a bit of better camera angle, but nonetheless, it was a great move on the stream. And now Harry will be the leader of this small 3-car train, as they will hopefully try and bridge the gap back up to the Nissan, who I believe is probably still struggling in that Nissan. I would imagine it would be almost impossible to drive. Obviously I'm not one to judge, but I can imagine that Nissan being extremely hard. You can actually see how much he's braking and trying to get that Nissan turned in. That is extremely difficult by the looks of it. I would not be wanting to drive that right now, but still doing a very good job in driving. So he's currently P8, so I have to see if Harry and crew can catch up. We'll have to see how that goes for them. So obviously a little bit more about this race as we'll stay on board with Peter. I believe is getting a little bit closer to Gemiel. You can actually see, you can't see a lot actually, to displays that much now, but the rating says it's going to be decreasing. How truthful that is, we will never know. But yeah, obviously, career mode then obviously launching the 1st of October. So we're currently on our 2nd week of career mode. It's been an excellent start to career mode so far. Obviously, lots of drivers, lots of new drivers as well, joining some of our races, and we've had some great, excellent battles and excellent races so far in career mode. But obviously, what is it? Obviously, career mode allows you as a driver, and she's generally actually going off the track and actually spinning. Unfortunately, that was such a slow spin; it looked like it almost wasn't possible. But that's unfortunate for Jeremy. Obviously, we'll try and get going before Will Gostel catches him. But yes, obviously career mode allows you as a driver to take control of what car you buy. So there's a fully implemented economy, and you as a driver can choose what car you want to drive. Obviously prices fluctuate as more or less people buy and sell, but that's actually Nani who has spun on track and has returned to the garage, and I believe has left, unfortunately. I don't know what happened to him. I didn't press the button quick enough. It's unfortunate to see, but I don't know if something involved with Altosis potentially. We'll have to go on board with Altosis POV and see, but you see Nani seems to be up ahead, nothing out of the ordinary, but he gets all over the grass and has to spin. That is unfortunate to see, a small mistake like that, and yeah, I mean, happens to everyone. Certainly touched the grass a few too many times than I would like to admit. But yeah, unfortunate, it happens to all of us, and it's a shame to see him leaving. But I'm sure back for the next one as he continues his fight at the top in the other championships. But yeah, obviously different championships in career mode, and allows you as a driver to experience different types of racing, all throughout ACC, that being from GT4, GT2, GT3, or even races like this where the weather is completely unpredictable and really challenges you as a driver. But yeah, obviously fully implemented economy, allowing each driver to buy whatever car they like, presuming they can afford it. Obviously a few cars we haven't seen, obviously like I said, the Nissan, as the Nissan is actually off the track. Unfortunately can't rejoin, he can't find the space, but luckily does so and actually taps the barrier. But yes, obviously cars like the Nissan that would be relatively cheaper, and I think still underrated picks. So cars like that in career mode, great to see them going. But yes, I mean, I think career mode has been a great project, Harry, and I think it's more to come obviously for January.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot planned for the 2025 season, and obviously it'll be a lot more than just 2 months with 40 races. That one it should be 3 months, maybe even daily races. As you know, we go strong with our partner communities and partner teams and stuff like that. So yeah, if you want to get involved with the trial season now, just sort of understand the mechanics and stuff, get involved. You know, if you don't have the game yet, Uplay, our title sponsor, you can get up to 80% off select titles, ACC included. You can get pretty much the game and all its DLCs for the price of the game on Steam itself. So you know, if you want an excellent deal, you're looking to get into the game, that's how you can do it.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, great way to get into racing ACC, especially in career mode as well, as we give you a good selection of racing. But back to the race, obviously Gilroy chasing down the number 24 McLaren, currently at 9/10 of a second. Gilroy currently, actually I believe he started at the back of the grid. I don't think he actually set a time in qualifying, if I remember correctly. So he is looking for, once again, another last to top 10 finish for him, potentially even a top 5 if he keeps his pace up. So yeah, I mean, great pace, but obviously 18 minutes left of this race, which is, if you actually work that out into laps, it's not many. It's like, I believe it's like 3 or 4 by the time. I have to see where that counter crosses when Tamara crosses the line. But yeah, I mean, obviously 45 minutes of racing sounds like a lot, but the Nordschleife, it's literally, I think, 7 laps. So yeah, I mean, you can see really it's not a lot, but for these drivers they'll be under a lot of pressure to get some laps in, as obviously it is one of the toughest tracks on ACC. You can see Gilroy all over the curve a little bit there as he starts to hunt down the McLaren down the back straight. You see a dry line is forming there. It is saying there is no rain expected for the next 10 minutes.
Be right into the race.
Yep, so by that means, hopefully or potentially, by the end of this race, there won't be much water or standing water on this racetrack, so it would almost be dry tyre racing. I can't be sure, but I mean, 17 minutes on a completely dry track with this amount of drivers, then I'd imagine the track would dry out pretty damn quickly.
Especially with that time multiplier that's on as well. So we got 3 times time
yes, yeah.
multiplier, 6 time randomness today. So
yeah, obviously the time multiplier allows the randomness to be even more random, and obviously allows us to have a little bit variation in the time of day. And obviously with the time multiplier, the track conditions change just as fast. You see Gilroy sliding on the rear there. So I would, yeah, like Harry said, I would presume that this racetrack would pretty much be flat out dry in the last, well, by the end of the race. So even in the next, I'd say 5-6 minutes ish. So we'll have to see how that goes and if it's worth changing to dry tyre for these drivers, which could, in the very dying moments of this race, absolutely change everything. If it is dry tyre weather, we'll have to see. Obviously, if you're on a wet tyre on a dry track, your tyres are going to get hot, and it's just going to be really annoying and potentially spin or more mistakes to be had. And obviously, dry tyres on a wet track is just a complete no-no. If you're doing that, then you either didn't read the weather, but someone that didn't read the track is Ben Gilroy, as he was not paying attention, I would imagine, there, as he slightly misjudges the speed of that corner as he finds himself in the gravel, but luckily not too much time lost as he continues on and he tries to chase down Uslu in the 24 McLaren. I believe that McLaren actually doesn't have damage. Never mind, it does. I keep clicking onto cars and it doesn't seem to have damage, but someone in the pit lane then is the Nissan. Obviously a lot of damage from the spin on the lap before, so probably potentially serving that. I imagine maybe even sticking a pair of dry tyres on. I mean, that's what I'd be thinking about right now. If the track is dry enough, you can see in the pit lane, it is relatively dry. I believe they are there. He's put on wets, or on the same wets, so I'll have to see how that goes for then. I believe it's the number 34. It's Ben Gilroy's actually made a mistake in those last 15 seconds. Have to see. Over, yeah, just catches the grass like we've seen many drivers do, and that does put him in the barrier, unfortunately, as he tries to rejoin the track. But yeah, I mean, it is extremely easy to do, for sure. But tomorrow, Newsbeat seem to be doing just fine, as the gaps are starting to spread out a little bit now between everyone. So everyone's just trying to settle in and do their own thing. But I think that's Matteo all over the curb in the background, really pushing the limits and trying to catch Newsbeat. Obviously, these drivers are faster in their own conditions. I know. Obviously, some drivers are faster in the wet than others in the dry, but obviously the more this gets drier, then it could change everything. But I think the weather indicator just indicated 10 minutes it is going to rain again, so it could get dry for the next, well, 10 minutes ish, and then it's going to start raining again. But how dry is it going to get is the real question. As I believe Harry has lost a position to Peter, and then get a mistake.
Had a bit of a spin and going around that fast left-hander.
Yeah, I've seen many drivers do that today. It is not. It is a very hard one to judge in the changing conditions, I would imagine, as the speed constantly changes. As we saw Ben Gilroy do the same thing on a different corner, judging speed.
Every corner's sort of been different every single lap, so it's, you got to adapt to it as they come to you.
Yep, definitely, and obviously that is a great thing about races like this. It really challenges the driver to think differently about their driving. Either they go safer or more aggressive, or they just try to play it safe completely and not take any risks. It's up to them, and obviously allows for a very exciting race like we've had so far. There's a good selection of cars on track, but tomorrow completely picked up the pace. I mean, last time round was an 8:50.9. The fastest lap is actually held by Altosis. It's an 8:50.9, but obviously tomorrow's last lap was actually invalidated. But still, so he's setting some good pace, and obviously these lap times will start to drop for the next 5 minutes or so as the track gets drier. Obviously with the rain starting to pick up again in 10 minutes, it really begs the question of is the dry tyre going to be worth it? Because if the track dries out enough in this 3-time multiplier, then dry tyre might be the option. And if it's going to only rain for the final 5 minutes or so of this race, we'll have to find out. But if the pressures do get too hot before that rain comes, then it's well, it's not great. I'd say it's once the pressures are gone, it's pressures stay gone pretty much all the time. I believe Mark Mass he's gained a place due to another car in the pit lane. It's just had their car fixed.
I'm side by side with Peter.
Harry is indeed side by side with Peter, as Peter actually getting the better exit, or that better straight line speed, sorry, into one of the trickier sections, I would imagine, in the wet conditions as they come towards Carousel now. Obviously Peter,
I also didn't think side by side through those corners was a good idea.
no, I'd imagine that would be quite scary actually in the wet conditions where it's very hard to give each other space on quite a wet track, and it's quite hard to turn, I'd imagine. Actually, Gemio, you can see him in the background, still not that far behind, and obviously if these guys battle it out a bit more or make mistakes, then Gemio is not that far behind at all. That Porsche will be looking to make moves, but the Porsche is all over off the exit carousel. How on earth did Gemio save that? I have no idea. Great driving. I mean, I completely thought that was straight to the barriers, but very well held by Gemio. But obviously, like I said, it's very easy to make mistakes in a track like this with completely changing conditions, and like Harry said, every corner will feel different at each lap. So it's really a game of try and guess the conditions. So you can see how Gemio's actually pushing a lot over these curbs, like we've seen him do all race actually. So having a little bit more confidence in that Porsche on a wet track than I think I've seen a lot of cars today. So that's great to see. As you can see, apparently due to the weather indicator, the sun is meant to be out. I beg to differ on that one, but in 10 minutes it's meant to completely throw it down once again. But like we said, 10 minutes time is the end of the race, so maybe we might see dry running to the end here, unless that indicator does change. We'll have to find out. But so far it's looking pretty good, but Harry on the back of Peter once again, still looking for a re-overtake for P7. These guys follow each other very closely, and in wet conditions I would imagine, or actually I say wet conditions, it's quite dry now, but so the spray isn't as bad, but I'd still imagine there is quite a bit of spray. As you can see, it's not, it's reasonable, but not ideal. It definitely distracts you from the car ahead. You can see Peter getting a much better exit than Harry. Come that. In other news, obviously Nani has officially now served his driving penalty. I forgot to mention that a lap ago before he left. He did serve it before, and Mattio's got a 5 seconds, but that won't really matter to him. But it does matter to Altosis, who's actually got through on Matteo. I don't know how that happened particularly. I don't know if maybe he made a mistake, but Altosis is through. Obviously Altosis is having, or a lot of cars having damage from lap 1, has managed this race very well, and was holding the fastest lap of the race until last time round when Tamara smashed it by about 5 seconds. It was an 8:42 for Tamara and 8:48 for Altosis, so that's even more than 5 seconds. So yeah, I mean, it's really crazy pace that Tamara has got at the moment, especially on a track like this. So yeah, I mean, still, I think actually the Lamborghini driver will be looking for a re-overtake, as I believe he might have the better pace, especially in this first section of the GP. The gap is hovering around 1 second at the moment, so we'll have to see how they get on. But Peter, actually, Harry getting past once again, and Peter looks now to overtake Harry. Gilroy will be looking to overtake Uslu in the 24 McLaren relatively soon. The gap's around 6/10 on both of those guys. Have to keep an eye on that in the final 7 minutes of this race.
The dry line on the GP circuit certainly is very dry now. It's almost like the dry track would be, bar a bit of puddles on the corner there.
Yeah.
And then rain in 3 minutes. So while I'm saying that the track's drying out, we're going to go back to torrential downpour.
Yep. And like I said, it said it was going to be dry, and like I said, the 6-time randomness and the 3-time multiplier really does change everything, well, but literally by the minute. So it definitely adds an extra layer of spiciness to this race. Obviously 3 minutes time, the race will not be over, so these guys will experience rain once again. So that will sort of solidify the fastest lap of the race, I would imagine. So I'll have to see how they get on. But tomorrow we'll actually have one more lap after this one, so we'll have to do this one and then another one before the end of this race. So again, that's 2 laps of racing, so we'll have to see how these drivers manage that. But Ben Gilroy catching the back on the McLaren once again after his prior incident with the grass, which I presume he will not want us to remember. But again, it happens to all of us, and a great part of this race is that it literally happens to everyone. You can't escape it. A mistake, even for the best drivers, will happen. So definitely adds challenging conditions to these guys. Actually the gap hovers for Gilroy around 1.1 seconds at the moment. I think that McLaren is still holding well, but Messina still looking to try and get past Altosis, but not enough. His gap's currently 1.2, so he's dropped off a little bit, as I believe that BMW has found a little bit more pace in these closing moments of the dry. I'm sure these drivers would appreciate a little bit more to the end, but it's all part of the fun. I mean, I certainly prefer the dry conditions because I'm terrible in the wet. But still, the gaps are quite spread out at the moment, but still some close battles, with Peter only hovering outside the 1 second as well. So still plenty on the cards in the final couple of laps of this race. But still, it's been a crazy race. You've seen lots of action already. I mean, it's been quite incredible. We've seen obviously Harry making some great moves, and others also doing the same. Gilroy doing a lovely move up the inside to the outside, just past Carousel.
Ben's back.
Ben is back.
Rain. Quite heavy as well, actually. It's gone from being nothing to something.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, that's. I mean, you couldn't put it any better. The rain didn't exist, and now it's spawned in. Obviously, that's completely changed the way these guys. Obviously, these guys actually had a couple laps of slightly drier lines, but it changes all again. So they've got to remember those late or earlier braking points that they had at the start of this race, as Peter will be looking to make the most of this in the BMW to try and catch up to Harry. So this is our closest battle on the track at the moment. Others hovering around the 1 second mark, but someone that didn't hover around the 1 second mark is Matteo, as he spun. These conditions obviously not predictable enough, as he gets caught off guard and does spin. He loses around 13 seconds to Altosis. That's really unfortunate to see, as he had some great pace all race long. But again, happens to all of us. I imagine he won't be the first in these changing conditions once again. So 3 minutes to go now, so we'll have to see how it all plays out for these drivers. Yeah, I mean, quite a few mistakes today we've seen. So now it's just, I mean, the main point in this race would have been to try and minimise the amount of mistakes that happen. Obviously, that will highly increase your finish position. And obviously, in career mode, your finishing position matters quite a bit with your sponsors and targets. Obviously, wanting a big or good result, which allows you to earn more coins. And obviously, you earn more coins, the better car you can have. As Harry does not understand the track limits, as he wants to go for a little quick trip to the grass, just showing off maybe the Aston Martin suspension.
Just to be the crow flies there, I didn't want to take the corner.
Ah, yeah. So actually, the BMW follows Harry off the line at Carousel, so not too much time lost for Harry in the end of that.
Yeah, it's Aston Martin's. There's literally no grip on that carousel. I've been struggling the entire time with it. I lose maybe 1-2 seconds each lap.
It's actually crazy to hear, actually. I mean, Carousel's not a very grippy corner in the dry anyway, but the fact that Harry's literally pretty much driving on no tyres at all through there is slightly worrying. I mean, how are the pressures today? You set them correctly?
Yeah, the only issue is obviously the variable weather conditions. Most of the time they've been hovering about 30 to 32, which is good, but then they did extend during that dry stint towards 34.
Yeah.
So a little bit overpressured, but I suppose some of that is due to the spin that I had as well.
Yeah, of course, obviously, any mistakes will really affect how the tyres perform. Either they get too hot or too cold, depending on what you do to them. But still, actually, the BMW making a little bit of a twitch and allowing Harry to have a little bit more breathing room. But still, tomorrow then, we'll actually be looking around the final corner now. There's 1 minute to go, so there will be one more lap. So he'll be on to the final lap now. So I have to see, just double check the confirmation from the announcer. Yep, I believe it is on the final lap. So yeah, tomorrow we'll be looking to secure a dominating victory here at the Nordschleife in these variable conditions. As you can see now, the rain and how much it's pouring. I don't think this onboard does show it enough, nor does the spectator cameras really, but yeah, I mean, these conditions are, I can imagine, especially cars like the McLaren, where aerodynamic performance is pretty much crucial at a racetrack like this. It's extremely challenging to manage, so he's done really brilliantly to manage that. Same goes for basically anyone on this racetrack. To finish this race is definitely an achievement, because it's not an easy one to finish, let alone in these conditions. So yeah, I mean, great props to all of our drivers that are finishing this race. I mean, it's definitely been a challenging one, and someone who didn't have the best start of this race is Nijmegen. Obviously, remember, he got spun around on lap 1. He's actually made a very nice recovery to P14. Actually lost all the way down. I think he was down like P22, and to come back to P14 on a track like this is extremely well done for him. He's done really well, and currently now just managing the pace and making sure there's no mistakes. Other drivers then, also, there's obviously Ben Gure, currently in P5. It'll be another top 5 finish for Gure if he doesn't do stuff like that, as he finds himself in the grass. I think I've got commentator's curse or something. I mean, every time I switch to someone, there seems something goes wrong. So yeah, I mean, but still, nonetheless, it's been a great comeback for Ben Gure, as he didn't set a lap in qualifying and was down on the bottom half of this grid. Has come back to P5 in a Porsche as well, in the rain. That must be absolutely terrifying, I would imagine. Speaking of Porsches, Gemiel has done brilliantly as well to do that, but I believe Will's actually made a mistake, as he's entering the pit lane, and maybe a bit of damage on that Audi, but still, great recovery from Gure, and a nice race from Gemiel indeed in these cars that are so snappy in the dry, and even more so in the wet. As you can see, actually, Gemiel trying to follow the dry line as best as he can, but you can see the dry line is fading so much, and yeah, as you can see, Gemiel exploring the track limits because of how difficult and how much these conditions are changing. You can actually see the spray off these cars so much already. So yeah, I mean, crazy really, if you think about it like that. But it's a big slide from Gemma as well. It's the second time he's done something like that and managed to hold it. I mean, fantastic car control from Gemma. And again, I think he's just showing off at this point. But still, I think yeah, Koscielny gaining the place on Will, who's still in the pit lane. But yeah, another good result from the Nissan. With all the damage that Nissan's got, it'll still be a great result for the Nissan driver. And a car like that, I'd imagine, is extremely difficult to drive. As he comes down the back straight with loads of damage, with the hazards on, just to show there's something wrong with his car. But we have got a yellow flag for Mark Mass, who is off the track once again. I think that's probably down to the conditions changing again, and these drivers are not knowing where to brake. I mean, I would too be struggling with that. But actually, Tamara's picked up the pace even more in these conditions. It actually dropped Usby by another like 7 seconds in the last couple lap, which I wasn't really paying attention to, as the gap's now 23.1 seconds. So yeah, I mean, yeah, last lap, Tamara gained 3 seconds on Usby, so I mean, it really shows that this driver has indeed a lot of pace in conditions like this. There's a yellow flag ahead for the 727. That is off track. I believe he's actually stuck on the curb, on the grass, sorry. As you can see tomorrow, yes, that's the RTG. I mean, I've done that one before. Yeah, after a contact, you get stuck on that grass pretty easily and cannot move the car. As you can see, Altosa's overtaking Mark Mass under blue flags. Mark does nicely get out of the way. But still, yeah, I mean, Harry, you made another mistake.
Yep, touched the grass on the outside going around that corner there. I misjudged how much I needed to brake and sent me spinning around like a merry-go-round.
I mean, I've just been talking about mistakes for the entire last 5 minutes, and you made one.
I'm gonna blame it on commentator's curse.
Commentator's curse, yeah, always get the blame.
Bit of food for thought though is I think some of these drivers might actually not have enough fuel in. I think you saw Will put in not too long ago, and obviously there was only 50 seconds or so when Tamara crossed the line, so some drivers may be trying to curse this lap and slow their fuel percentage use.
That's very true. I mean, I wasn't actually thinking about that, because I would imagine these guys would have fueled, but obviously with the changing conditions, fuel change, liters per lap will change. So maybe, yeah, different fuel. So I have to see come the line what drivers are where, and I imagine I'll see maybe Will has filled for fuel. Yeah, some of these drivers maybe not fueled for the entire race. We'll have to see come the line. But I'd imagine hopefully the top lot would have fueled. But you never know. It could be a massive upset come the line. Hopefully not, because tomorrow's driven an absolute brilliant race. I mean the gap has come down a little bit to Usby, but not by much. Nothing major. As I say that as Tamara makes a mistake on the carousel and drops the gap even further. I don't know what was that. It seems like it just stopped rather than made a mistake, but I'm not sure. You can see another mistake made from Tamara. She gets all over the grass. The commentator's curse is real. If you're watching the stream, turn it off, Tamara. It's not good for you. But yeah, that's a great racing. We'll have to come back to him later. Take the pressure off the commentator's curse, but put the pressure back on Harry, as we'll watch him chase after Jemiel for the final time this race.
Tell you what, absolutely no grip out here.
No, I would imagine so. These conditions would have probably shredded the tyres by now. Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine it's very hard to stay on track, as you proved me right.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, these conditions look extremely challenging. I imagine it's not the, well, I'd say towards the end, not very fun on the tyres, and it's more of a game of can I stay on track rather than chase the guy ahead. But nonetheless, it's still been a great race from all of our drivers, and like I said, it's been, if you manage to finish this race, it's definitely a great congratulations, because like I said, Nordschleife on its own is quite difficult to finish. but in these conditions and variable changing conditions with a 6-time randomness and a 3 times multiplier, it is even more so challenging to finish this race. But then, more importantly, tomorrow now as he heads towards the back straight for the final time, I've actually listened to his onboard. I think tomorrow hasn't got enough fuel. I mean, he seems to be. Listen to his engine though. I don't know how well on stream you can hear it, but it seems to be on and off. Unless that's just his throttle control. I could be wrong, but we'll have to see. Hopefully, he's got enough fuel. I mean, I know that McLaren does drink indeed, but the McLaren all over the curbs and it has gone into the barrier, which has not helped it at all. Maybe it's a new strategy for losing or using less fuel, I don't know, but it won't matter now as he's on the straight. As long as Tamara does not crash in the final corner and lose 18 seconds to Usby, he will just be doing just fine. He seems to be full throttle down here. Maybe no fuel issues for tomorrow in the end. I'd imagine he'd be doing just fine. Maybe it's just some throttle control in that final section. I mean, it is one of the difficult sections on this track. But actually, I must say, before tomorrow crosses this line, Altosis has had some crazy pace. He's actually caught all the way up back to Usby. Currently only 6 seconds behind Usby. So great pace from Altosis to finish like that after lap 1 drama. But it is tomorrow then, across the line to win Random Rush at Nordschleife. Great race from him. I mean, completely amazing. There's not much else to say about that. I mean, he's completely dominated that race as he spins once again and holds that nicely as he's now celebrating. So it'll be Usby next across the line in P2. Great race from him. Very quiet race from Usby, apart from the start, as he does a lovely 360. And it'll be actually Altosis across the line next. Like I said, very nice race from him to get where he was as Altosis crashes into Usby, so I believe that will be a penalty for Altosis. Of course, just joking. These two know each other very well, so it'll be a great race for them. It'll be Matteo next across the line. Obviously, some unfortunate errors from him, which dropped him down to P4, but still a very well controlled race by the Lamborghini driver. Will put him P4. Great race from him. And it'll be next then. It'll be P5. It'll be Ben Gilroy, obviously starting with no qualifying time, building his way up into the top 5. Very impressive indeed in a car like that in these conditions. So that will be a fantastic result for Ben Gilroy. As now he will cross the line for P5. Great race from him. Then it will be the McLaren, the number 24, the one we've seen so much this race with the damage he has had. Got a great result in finishing P6, very nice and well controlled from the McLaren driver with all that damage. The next driver will be Peter in the BMW. So we saw fighting with Harry a little earlier on, but will now finish P7. Great result for him. Jemiel next, like I mentioned, in that Porsche. Great race, and obviously Harry in P9 after some mistakes, but still these guys very close, and some great battling we've seen this race. Obviously Harry's overtake, Ben Gilroy's overtake, so plenty of action all race long. Next will be Maxime Coschiera as he comes down the back straight now in that Ferrari. Yeah, I mean, Harry, I mean, it's been a great race today. I mean, obviously quite difficult on the driver, I'd imagine, but overall it's been quite exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been pretty terrifying at times. Obviously, when you go around and you got a whole grid of cars behind you that are potentially going to be smashing into you, you got to sort of keep your wits about you when you're doing that, and try and be as safe as you can on track.
Yeah, definitely. It's been fun to watch, definite. As now, Maxime Coschiera will head towards the final corners to finish his race in P10. It was a good race for him. Altosis says Usby is slow. I mean, I can't comment on that, but if you say so. I mean, towards the end of the race, maybe he's dropping a little bit of pace. Obviously, Altosis was catching. But yeah, I mean, still great race from these guys. Is actually will be the next one. Either paying for fuel or for damage, we will never know. We'll have to maybe ask him a bit later. But nonetheless, it did drop him down a few positions because so, but still finishing inside the top 10. So great result from Will in the Audi. Another car actually quite difficult to control in these conditions. Actually, if not the worst car to control in these conditions. The Audi is not built for the wet condition, but still great result for Will to finish P10. Congratulations. And the next driver will now start the final straight. It is the Nissan with that damage. I think they've been going with that damage the past 3 laps. So great to see the Nissan finishing the race. Of the other drivers have already finished the race, being Mark, Tan and Kelly, due to being either in the pits or being lapped. That Nissan is not the way to drive. If you're watching now and want advice on how to drive, that is not how to drive. Just make sure that's all clear. It will most likely send you into the barrier. But still, Nissan come around now for the final corner. Very great race. To even see that Nissan finish is amazing. I mean, I'm not sure how it's finished. It is definitely not a car built for these conditions. But that will round out then our top. It'll be round out our top few. But still, great racing these guys, and I mean, fantastic really. You can see here these guys still celebrating. I mean, Tomas was celebrating for the last 4 minutes, but we'll leave it like that, and hopefully see you guys at the next.